Ark of the Covenant was the most sacred and the most important thing that Israel had. It had been precisely crafted by men who God had given instruction to right down to the last detail. They were told what to make it from, what kind of wood to use, what kind of precious stones and jewels, and every last dimension was given to them by God Himself. There was no man-made creation upon the Ark of the Covenant. And the priests who carried it had to put staves through gold loops on each side because they could not touch the ark or they would die. And when transported, it was covered so that none would look upon it. And when Israel would set up camp, they would put it in the tabernacle, in the center of all the camp, in behind the veil in the Holy of Holies, so that nobody would look upon it. And this was where God resided with Israel. And this is where the Spirit of God was in the Old Testament. No one had free access to come and go from the Holy of Holies. Only the high priest was able to enter into the Holy of Holies, and that was only possible once a year. And the only reason that he was allowed to enter into the Holy of Holies so that he could make atonement and sacrifices for the sins of Israel. This was the very Spirit of God in their midst. And here is the ark in Joshua chapter 3, leading the children of Israel through Jordan onto the city of Jericho. And there is much significance in this action because it was customary right into the Middle Ages that a king would lead his army into battle. Kings would be on the forefront of every battle and every military stance that took place. A king would lead the charge into battle, showing his bravery, his might, and his courage. And his people would follow. And here's the ark leading in Joshua chapter 3, leading the children of Israel. And like I said, the Ark of the Covenant was God inspired in every detail. Exodus chapter 37, verses 1 through 7 tells us of how it was crafted. And Bezaleel made the ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and 1 cubit and a half the breadth of it, and 1 cubit and a half the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a crown of gold to it round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set by the 4 corners of it, even 2 rings upon the one side, and the 2 rings upon the other side of it. And he made staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with pure gold, and he put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark to bear the ark. And he made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was the length thereof, and 1 cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And he made 2 cherubims of gold, beaten out of one piece made he them on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And there was a mercy seat which had been constructed on top of the ark. And although they could not see him physically, it was as though the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords was leading them through Jordan. Their king was leading them into battle as he sat upon this mercy seat that they had constructed for him. And even though they could not see it, they could not physically touch him, he was there. Can I just say tonight that when you feel like you are going into battle in your life, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords is by your side. And above that, He is leading you every step of the way. God is fighting with you and He is still on the throne. No matter what you go through in your life, every difficulty that you go through, the King is leading the way for you. That's all right. We can clap hands to the Lord. And so God leads His people through Jordan. It was made known to Israel's enemies in Joshua chapter 5, verse 1. And it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel, until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was there spirit in them anymore because of the children of Israel. And the enemy caught wind of what happened at the river Jordan. They had heard that the Ark of the Covenant made a way on dry ground for Israel to pass through. And when the kings heard this, the Bible said that their hearts melted, neither was there spirit in them anymore. And this is a fancy way for saying that their hearts were struck with fear, and they could hardly breathe because they saw the children of Israel land right on the side of Jericho after God made a way through the river Jordan. They couldn't believe what they had heard. They had to reevaluate what was going on. Jericho, a well-fortified city, a city with tall walls and a city with thick walls, was no match for the children of Israel. And I read that Jericho was not an exceeding large city as far as population and as far as square feet, but it was impenetrable. And here's my one point. When you let the Spirit of God lead you and the Spirit of God direct you, the enemy